last one I have is a budget amendment, for the airport fund that we're short in. We're short, $38,000, almost $39,000. And we have this extra money that was in the state criminal fund that's, when I got here, they never moved money. So it's never been touched, and the outside auditor said we can do what we want with that, and I was just going to suggest or recommend that we take that $40,000 from there and move to the airport fund to cover the shortage. And that's what I have on budget amendments.
That for topping the airport, removing over at the airport, or?
I think it's for several things.
It was several different things that we did, but
What is that, the lights, utility body,
I'll make a motion to use that fund, so even up the budget there.
Have a motion, second, Dexter, all in favor? Motion carries. Third man, gentlemen. Item number 4. Currently off, so what do y'all do?
Well, missing these rains, we're getting pretty dry. My suggestion would be put it in play, and if we get a rain, we can always remove it outside the port.
Yeah, I agree with that, we have a lot of fuel up there right now.
Motion by Michael, second by Preston, all in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. All right, special revenue, Ms. Long.
I don't have any judgment.
Consider approved Black Honey quote for $2,485 to repair water lines and tax assessment office.
Give us a little more information what's going on with that, if you don't mind.
Jordan?
Preston, to answer your question, we had Black Plumbing come out to repair up underneath the sink in Johnny Lou's office, because everything was leaking under there. So, they started looking at the piping so they could put the P-trap and do all that stuff in. And the main pipe that is in the wall there is rusting out, it's got 2 cracks in it. The steel pipe that's in there, it's shot, I mean, it's just old age. So, unless we want her office in there flooded and everything, we're gonna have to do something on it, cause it's going to do that.
Pipes in concrete,
I'm sorry,
that pipe's in concrete.
no, it's just in the wall, where they're gonna have to replace it, all of that area right there is in the wall, they've already opened up that wall to look at it. As far as I know, it's not concrete.
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Where are we gonna take the money from? We gonna take it out of general funds or emergency funds?
We have that courthouse maintenance still,
Oh,
or?
yeah, we did.
Do we take it out of courthouse maintenance?
Buildings and repairs.
I'll second it for the courthouse maintenance.
Excuse me, I have a motion and a second, all in favor? Motion carries. Item number 7, TCDRS retirement plan, Erica?
Gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Erica, it's Boston now, I'm sitting here, she's newlywed, she got married in August and March. She's with TCDRS, she's been with them for 12 years, and she hasn't been to our court in about 5 years, so I've asked her to give a presentation, because some of you haven't, had her presentation yet, so I'm gonna give her the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for inviting me today. And I did something a little different that I don't typically do for presentations. Normally, it's just an employer presentation. But I was told that oftentimes your members have questions about their plans. So I shrunk this to the just most important slides. And then I'm going to turn it over to a member presentation and answer just high-level overview for members that are watching from home or that might have questions. So a little bit of a custom presentation, but as she said, I come to you from TCDRS, and for 50 years you have been with us. We are 57 years young, and for 50 of those years you've been with us, and we are proud to provide the retirement for all the counties and the districts in Texas. Districts meaning governmental entities, agencies that are not teachers associated or state or judicial, they usually come with us, like appraisal districts, and in fact, I have the appraisal district across the street in our plan. And we grow by about 21 new employers every year. Now, we have every county in Texas except one, and my goal is to get them, and that's Motley. Motley hasn't joined us yet, but my goal is to bring them on board, and then we will have all the counties in Texas. And so today, I thought real high level, I'd share some numbers with you that I speak specifically to courts about. And we have grown, as you can see, considerably at over 380,000 Texans that we serve. Our system as a whole is 89% funded, and our 30-year return is about 7.6%, that long-term goal that we aim with our portfolio that drives our success. And we hold about $46 billion in assets, and that's when we pool all of the plan money. I say that we pool for investment purposes, but every county and district has their own trust. Fisher County has its own trust, separate from Fisher CAD across the street. You have your own trust, and it is this decision-making body that decides how to fund your benefit levels with that trust. You get to make changes on those benefit levels. This court can decide if they need to increase the match or decrease the match, if they want to pass a COLA, a cost of living adjustments for retirees or not, if they want to change any of the benefit levels, because you get to manage your trust with us. Pulled together, we have $46 billion and about 870 employers. As I mentioned, about 20 districts join us a year. If I had to say the three things I talk about the most to decision makers, it's the three items you see on the screen. People often ask, how are you different? How is TCDRS not like any other pension in Texas or nationwide? What keeps you strong and well-funded? We're savings-based. So the moment you hire a new member, they must begin saving for their retirement from their very first paycheck. And over their entire career, the member is saving for their own retirement. We are responsibly funded because, as I mentioned, each of your counties and districts get to decide the benefit levels that you can afford. So you responsibly fund what you can pay for, and you can change that accordingly. And the local control and flexibility is in your hands. So this court decides what's best for Fisher County, and the Terry County Court decides what's best for Tarrant County, and the Harris County Court decides what's best for Harris County. And that is a phenomenal local control that allows you to govern your own plan. I mentioned, and in fact I didn't, let me back up a little bit. We are not funded by the state of Texas. We fund ourselves. We are governed by the legislature. In fact, our 9-member board of trustees is appointed by our state governor and approved by our Texas Senate. But we are not funded. Not one penny comes from the state budget. We fund ourselves. So members are funding their own plan. Employers, like the counties and districts, are funding the match. And our portfolio that you see on the screen drives the rest of it. So if I were to give you a brief image, if I were to give you an image of a dollar bill and it's paid to a retiree, 74 cents of that dollar bill comes from our portfolio's performance. 15 cents comes from the actual county and district that's funding the match, and 11 cents from members' own pockets. So we fund ourselves, and this is a quick snapshot of our asset classes. We're diverse across and within asset classes. We provide public information on our website. You can visit tcdrs.org anytime and click on credit or private equity or hedge funds or any part of our asset classes, and it'll show you performance year to date. It'll show you who our managers are, etc. And you can obtain this information at your convenience whenever you want more information about our portfolio. Specific performance is important. You'll notice a gray band that I have on the screen. That's because our long-term investment goal is 7.5%, but we know we're not going to always hit 7.5 every year. But we do have a risk tolerance and a performance level of risk, plus and minus that 7.5, that our plan and our portfolio should perform as expected. And as you can see, it does, except for the Great Recession of 08, the subsequent recovery of 09. 2 years ago, we closed at 22%. And 3 years ago, 2 years ago, we had a negative, and then last year, 11.1. So we do perform mostly as expected within that risk tolerance of plus or minus 7.5%, because our long-term goal is 7.5. And an average duration of an employee is about 17 years, an average retiree is another 17. So we have about a 30-year horizon to make this work over time and to do our part to manage very diligently our portfolio, so that as you manage your own plan and budget what you can offer, Together, we make the great team of funding this plan and funding it well. Specifically for Fisher County, in 2024, the rest of this calendar year, the cost to fund your plan is 5.59% of your payroll. So whatever your monthly payroll is, you take 5.59% of that, and that's what you're sending us in dollars each month to responsibly fund your level of benefits. Now, every year, we have a valuation that takes place from January to April. We study everything that happened the year before. Who did you hire? How did your plan change? How did salaries change? How did TCDRS do in our portfolio? We study all kinds of plan experience and our own performance in our portfolio, and with that valuation, our actuaries take that data and say, okay, Fisher County, for the coming year, these are your new costs. So as you can see, for various reasons, the gain in our investment returns, something that you all have done that I'm gonna mention in a moment called an elected rate has served you well. And you had some positive changes in your demographics, I believe, because salaries went up. So you've got all these decreases to cost. So for 2025, your cost is 4.52% of payroll. Your cost went down. That's a great thing. It's supposed to go down over time. So congratulations. And it brings your funded ratio to 102.6, just over that 100%. And all that means is that your assets have exceeded your liabilities a bit. And that cushion is great because, as you can see, sometimes our portfolio doesn't perform as expected, and we will have losses, and we will not have gains to pass off. And when you have a cushion and we have losses in the pipeline, it doesn't affect you as much because you have that cushion that keeps your rate nice and stable. So building a cushion has become everyone's goal. And I mentioned Fisher County has done something incredible. That's called an elected rate. Since 2013, this county chose to put an elected rate in place. You elected to pay us a little bit more than what was due. So we told you what you owed us, and you paid us a little bit above that since 2013. And what that means is this county has begun creating a cushion. So as your rate slowly went down, your costs, you held that elected rate, and you created a little bit of a cushion. So when we have a negative plan year and don't have gains to pass off, that cushion serves you all well, which is why your funded ratio is nice and strong. Many counties have followed suit. They have started electing to pay us a little bit more than what they owe because it's certainly nice to create a cushion for various reasons. Adverse years, if we don't do well with our portfolio, or creating that cushion to possibly pass cost of living adjustments for retirees. That cost of the COLA can come from that cushion, and it gives you some leverage there. So lots of reasons to create this, and it's been in your decision since 2013, so something to brag about for you all. Now, in 2018, Fisher County increased the match to 150%, so that's $1.50 for every one of the dollars you're matching for someone who becomes eligible to retire. And when you increase it to 150%, that's certainly a cost associated with it that the county pays for. And so by paying that elected rate, that was very wise of you all because you had begun to create that cushion. So when costs went up because you increased the match, a lot of those costs were pulled from that cushion. And that was smart of you all. Had you not established that cushion, your costs would be much higher, and I assure you, you wouldn't be at 4.52%. You'd be much higher, still funding a 1.50% match increase. Now, benefit increases take 15 years to pay, and you all passed it in 2018, so you still have a few years left, but because of that cushion, for Fisher County, rather than 15 years, it shrunk it because you had money available to use for that match increase. So very smart on the behalf of the decision-making body. We are part of a team that travels Texas, like I'm here today, to talk to decision makers so that you have the ability to adjust benefit levels. And today, what each of you have is in your plan is called a plan assessment. And I would probably argue that this is the most important document that decision makers receive every year. We like to release it in April, mid-April around tax time, because what it does is it gives you the results of the valuation. After we study all plans and we study plan experience, it tells you, okay, counties and districts, this is what you owe us for the coming year. So it gives this decision-making body the rest of 2024 to decide, are we gonna leave everything alone? Or do we wanna make a plan change? is there something we wanna see different? So you have plenty of time. The deadline to tell me about a plan change is December 15th. So which is why I'm here in June, so that you have the rest of the year to decide if you wanna leave everything the way it is, or if you wanted to make a plan change. And I did wanna highlight at the bottom of the plan assessment, your benefit levels are here at the top, but at the bottom, it just shows your liabilities and assets, and you see that your assets have increased those liabilities, giving you a little bit of an overfunding in your trust, making your plan 102.6% funded. Now, those numbers vary each year based on the valuation, based on plan experience, and based on our performance with our portfolio. So you won't always stay at 102. It's gonna wiggle each year. That a pension is designed to do that. But you're in a great place. And outside rating agencies say that a pension system is healthy at 80% funded and higher. Well, you're extremely healthy. So very, very proud to say that. Now, before I just transition to the next presentation that I wanted to, just a few slides on members, what might I be able to answer about the plan itself for funding, if there happen to be any questions from
The
you?
paper she's holding up, gentlemen, is on your desk in the TCDRS packet that's on your, in front of you. That's the health insurance, Dexter. It's in the TCDRS one that's paperclip.
Yes, sir, that's right. Yes, sir. Mhm. We've also, as a courtesy, provided you a little history report. You've been with us for 50 years, and so I thought it would be interesting for you to all see when the plans changed, what years your match increased. For example, the very first time the match increased was in 1988. It went from 100 to 120. And then in 2006, it went to 125% as the match. And then again in 2018 to 150. So the match has increased 3 times in your 50-year history. And I've also noticed that in 1992, this court added an optional life insurance plan called Group Term Life. It's something that TCDRS provides. It's an optional life insurance, and what it provides is if a member that works for you should pass away, their beneficiary get a check for 1 times their annual salary, or their earnings, if they're hourly, 1 times their annual earnings. And if a retiree passes away, their beneficiary receives $5,000. That's the earning, and it's called Group Term Life. It can be removed at any time, but it's been added to your plan since 1992. And that was something that I thought would be helpful if you just had an opportunity to glance at your history. I show you have about 64 depositing members and about 48 retirees. So very much a plan that continues to grow with members and with retirees. If, for example, gentlemen, you were not going to make any changes to your plan, there is nothing that you need to do, but just let Gina know, and then she lets me know there are no plan changes. And in December, I sent her an email that says, well, we didn't receive any plan changes, so for Fisher County, their rate will be 4.52%. But currently, the elected rate you have in place, gentlemen, is 8.23. Remember I told you that you set an elected rate and your costs have been going down and you've held that elected rate for some time? It's 8.23% of payroll. So now the gap is getting larger. That cushion for this county is growing. You pay us 8.23, but you only owe us 4.52. And this court can leave that the way it is, or adjust the 8.23 to any number that they wanted to, as long as it was above the 4.52. And the last thing I'll say, if you don't want to have an elected rate, you can remove it at any time and only pay what's required. Only pay the 4.52. That's all that's required. An elected rate is an option. It's never a requirement. So it's just something that you've had in place. I would say the elected rate was put in place again in 2013.
On the gap in the rates, what has been y'all's suggestion to counties as far as how much of a gap to keep in between?
That's a great question, Commissioner. We do get asked that. And when we're asked, how much do we suggest of a gap? How big is too big? How small is too small? Our response is, what is comfortable for this court and what works best for your workforce needs? For example, you pay us 8.23%. You only owe us 4.52. You're very well funded. If there are other areas that need that extra funding and you don't necessarily have to give it to us for very long, you can certainly adjust it, whatever is comfortable for you. I'll give you an example. We have counties that have a very, I would say, they owe us 12%, but they pay 19. And their gap is huge because they pass COLAs every year for retirees, and they want that gap large so that they're able to use those monies to fund a benefit increase called a COLA for a cost of living for retirees. So again, that's what's comfortable for them. And then I have other counties very similar to you where a 4-point basis difference, 4 and 8 is very comfortable, and they like to leave it that way. So really, if this is comfortable and it's not taking from any other area, if it's been working for you, we say address it until it doesn't work anymore. If it just gets too large that you can put that money elsewhere, if you're not seeing, it moving you anywhere. The reality is that this year it's 4.52, Commissioner, but if we don't have a gain next year, it could go right back up to 5. It could go right back up to 6, your required rate. So a little bit of wiggle room of about 3 basis points, maybe even 4, is very comfortable. Because even if your required rate goes up a little bit, that elected rate can tend to hold. So, it's really what's comfortable for you, but where you're at now is a good average for what a lot of counties tend to do. Unless you want to use that money for benefit increases, then you make it a little bit of a larger gap. And thank you for asking, because that's important.
That
Yes.
gap's real important. We got in trouble with Chicago where the gap wasn't there. We had to come up and fund money ourselves, so the gap is very good.
It's very helpful, especially even when COVID hit and the markets got a little interesting and things happened, when people had that cushion, when counties and districts had it, and our rate went to negative 5.8 for that year, that people with the counties and districts with a cushion didn't feel much of a tug at all. So it's to your point, when you can, it's very helpful.
Any other questions? Erica?
I will quickly just highlight some member areas because what I just spoke to was really the funding aspect and really the plan and how it's funded. But for members in today's audience or maybe streaming from home, they might wonder, well, how does all that affect me? So members save 7% of their own money each month, and every time they get paid, it goes into their TCDRS account. So their accounts are growing at 7%. And by state statute, their accounts are growing at 7% interest. And I travel this beautiful state of Texas, and I've never found a bank that pays 7% interest. So this is a great earning for them, and they get it every year. In fact, even in years that we do really well, when we hit 22%, they call and they ask us, are we gonna get more? No, you get your 7, but when we had negative 0.5, you still got your 7, so they're very happy because it doesn't change. And then at the end of their career, when they're ready to retire, their match is $150, that's $1.50. But in order to get that money, they must become eligible to retire. And to become eligible means they have to hit one of 3 rules. And I believe that's on that's coming up, that's on the slide coming up. When it's time for them to retire with a lifetime benefit, we look at their account balance and their match. And then we look at their age, because we have to determine a life expectancy. And we look at the benefit payment option. We offer 7. So your members can choose 7 different ways to get paid in retirement, and we can walk them through all 7. Now, if I could say the biggest question I get from members right now, it would be, who do I leave this money to if I die? What happens if something happens to me tomorrow? Who do I leave it to? A beneficiary. And members can change their beneficiary every day if they wanted to. They could call our call center and do it over the phone, or they can log into their own account and change it with a click of a button. And they can name a minor child. They just need to name a custodian who can manage that money for that minor until the minor becomes 18. They can even name an organization, someone without a heartbeat. If they like animals more than people, they can leave it to the ASPCA. Your option is to name a beneficiary at your choosing, and it can happen and change any day. Call TCDRS or do it online, and we can help you with that very easily. Now, if you don't have a beneficiary listed, and something should happen to you in the state of Texas, we're a community property state, so it immediately goes to your spouse. But if you're not married, it's gonna sit in probate, and a judge is gonna decide what happens to your money. So, name a beneficiary. And keep up to date with who you love. Because if who you love changes, we should probably know about that. So keep it very current, please. I mentioned that members get group term life. That's just, an optional life insurance that this court has very graciously given to the members. The members don't pay for it, the court does, the county does, and it's an optional life insurance. If you should die, your beneficiary gets 1 times your annual salary. In retirement, your beneficiary gets $5,000. And you can name a separate beneficiary for this. In fact, that's what I've done. My husband is my beneficiary for my retirement, but my 2 daughters are the beneficiary for my group term life. So you can name different beneficiaries if you like. You can change it anytime. And there are other ways to earn credit. So if you have other with other counties and districts, if you worked right across the street at that CAD, we count all your time. If you have county and district time, or if you worked for other systems like ERS, maybe TxDOT, JRS, that you were a teacher, you paid into TRS, or you worked for a municipality, TMRS, we count that time. So let us know about it. And then if you served in the military, thank you. And we honor up to 5 years of active duty after you're vested toward your time. Very important, easy to add on, and we'll be happy and honored to add that time for you. And in fact, I would say the above beneficiaries, this is actually the more common question I get is, Erica, this all sounds great, but if I die tomorrow, how exactly does my beneficiary get my money? Well, they get the survivor benefit. So if anybody has less than 4 years of service, then we simply refund your account to your beneficiary in a one-time check. Less than 4 years of service, we say, this is the money they had, here you go, in a one-time check. But if you have 4 or more years of service, now your beneficiary gets to retire in your place. Your survivor gets your benefit. They get not only all your money, they get the match from Fisher County, and they get a lifetime check. So less than 4 years of service, we refund the account to your beneficiary. 4 or more years, they retire in your place, and they get all the county match, and they get a lifetime check. And because it has to be paid out immediately, that's why we ask if you list a minor, we need a custodian on file who's 21 years of age or older. Because until that minor comes 18, we've got to pay it out. We can't pay a child. So we pay the custodian, and when that minor turns 18, we then pay the minor for the rest of their life. So it's called survivor benefit. This is automatic. You don't apply for it. It's how we pay the money out if you should die while you're still working. And to become eligible, to earn this benefit that I speak so grandly of, you have to be age 60 with 8 years of service. Congratulations, you're eligible to retire if you have that rule. Or if we add your age plus your years of service and that equals 75, a different skip in your step, or any age with 30 years of service. And you don't need the trifecta, just one. If you hit one of these rules, you have earned that 150% match, and you're getting a lifetime check from TCDRS because of Fisher County. Now, some people don't stay as long as retiree age. They don't put in a career here, and that's fine. So if they leave employment, they can keep their money with us. Remember I was bragging about that interest? You can leave your money with us till you're age 73, and your account grows at 7% interest every year. So use us as an awesome savings account. You can let it grow and pull it whenever you're ready, or you can roll it over. If you're really good at finances, roll it over to another tax-deferred qualified plan and let your money work for you in another investment. There's no penalty because you're rolling it over, you're not cashing it out. Or you can withdraw it. And if you withdraw, we have to send 20% to the IRS as by law. And if you withdraw it under the age of 59 and a half, there's a potential 10% additional penalty. So about 30, that you're looking at if you withdraw your money. But none if you roll it over, and none if you keep it with TCD, and you can leave it there till you're 73 and pull it out anytime. So before I close, I do want to say that while I love coming out to visit you all, the experts are the member services team, and they provide not only in-person counseling, but online, and it is fantastic. If you have a phone, a tablet, a computer, you go to our website, you book a session, and you get a live person for 30 minutes. It's my friends, Richard, Cynthia, Eric, Steve. They'll join you and your spouse, you and anyone, and they will review your account. They'll show you how much money you have. They'll run an estimate. They'll answer your questions. They'll help you retire. They're amazing, and they will book, we have an array of dates available. If you go to our website and you type in online counseling, you'll see a calendar. Click a date, enter your number and your name, and you get an email and a link, and you can join from any mobile device, and we're happy to meet with you. And they're very popular. In fact, they counsel more online than anything else because it's free and you don't have to travel anywhere but the comfort of your own kitchen table and meet with one of us. When you're ready to retire, we have different options. Single life options that paid a guaranteed term, and then a dual life that paid 2 life expectancies. I'm not going to dive too deep because this is really when you're ready to retire, but it's our job to explain them to you. So please call us or book an online session when you're ready to retire. We go over all the 7 options so that you can retire with confidence. And that actually brings me to the completion of the member side. I thought it was really important that I just took a moment to highlight, how that money works. And ultimately, my greatest message today would be, if you're a member and you haven't created your online account, call us and we'll show you how to do it. It takes 3 minutes. And if you haven't scheduled an online account session, please do. Those online counseling are phenomenal and they really answer all of your questions. And it's like having a live counselor, you know, at your kitchen table and or in your car or wherever you want to meet with us. We're available. So please reach out to us. I'm actually going to hang out in that little kitchen area until about 11:30-ish. And so if anybody has questions, come see me. I'll be hanging out there to be more available to any member of Fisher County. So thank you again. And if I can answer any questions about the member side, I'd be happy to.
Any questions?
I have none. Thank you, Erica.
Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. This is one of the nicest drives I take when I fly into Lubbock, and I enjoy it thoroughly. So thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Erica. With that, gentlemen, it's the time for us to start talking about budgets. I have given you my report that I usually give you in June, and I'm proposing that we just stay with the same, that we've had in the last, since 2013. It seems to be working for us.
I agree. I think it's worked good, and having a higher elected rate's been good for the county, so I'll make a motion to move over here.
Second.
Have a second, Dexter, all in favor? Unanimous, motion carried. Now we ready to review and approve tax health insurance plan FY 2025 as part.
Okay, thank you, sir. In front of you, you have the health insurance renewal packet. I also emailed it to each of you. The health insurance plan this year is basically staying the same, other than the dental has an increase of 3.5%, which makes a difference of a whole 66 cents per employee. That's the only change that they've proposed, for the health insurance. If you look through the paperwork that I've given you, that would make each employee's rate be $924.38, cost to the county per employee. Again, that's an increase of 66 cents. We see too, if you look to the paperwork provided to you, the substantially, we made a total contribution on behalf of the insurance over the past 12 months of $342,069.38. Of that, they've paid out $111,917.82 to medical. They've paid out $51,828.11 to pharmacy, for a total payout for just medical and pharmacy of $163,745.93. The dental, we contributed $10,469. They paid out a total of $72.39. So it seems like we've had a little bit more usage on the dental than we've had in the years past. I think probably because they finally have added a few more dentists in our area, in our network. With the insurance, then we contributed more, and they're a nonprofit. We typically get each year a reimbursement check of some kind. I haven't seen that yet. Have you, Becky, gotten the insurance? No. It's usually a year behind on that, so I haven't seen it. I think last year it was like 24,000, but anyways. So that just kind of gives y'all some details of the numbers. And again, also it being the season budget, the insurance renewal is due. I have to turn this back to that by the 26th of this month, so I need a decision on this one by the court.
I haven't heard anybody complaining about what we've had on the medical, dental, or anything.
No, that was either.
Make a motion. Second.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Thank you, John.
Item number 9, information on the Open Meetings Act and Public Information Act training completed as required by statute. Tom Coleman, you have any said, we'll move to item number 10, discuss and approve funds to purchase 4 new poll pads and software for the election. Ms. Beck, do we know what that costs?
Yeah. That's a real good bargain.
Yeah, it is for electronics, isn't it? The county is in need of 4 new poll pads because, can I give you one with my note on it?
I think Dexter's.
There, there's a sticky note, I think. Or you could do it by presentation. Anyway, 4 of our poll pads are 5th generation, and 2, we got 2 new ones, I don't know if we got a couple years ago.
Yeah.
They're 7th generation. Well, we have to update for security, and our 5th generations are not updated. So our poll pads are actually not secure when we have our elections. The company, knowing that we go through it, handles all that. We update, but we cannot update those 4, so it doesn't have the total security and functions that you need. So it would update to the 10th generation. And it would be, the poll pads would be $1,360, and the poll pad software is $2,980, so it's a total of $4,340 to get the 4 new poll pads with the software.
Probably the cheapest thing we buy in elections.
It's probably the cheapest thing we do purchase, and, I mean, and then we're gonna turn around, we're gonna have to update the 7th in a few years too, because they'll be obsolete if they don't, Apple can't update. But we would like, or we really need it.
For this
by-
presidential.
Yeah,
for
we need
the
it for, you know,
presidential.
you know how presidential elections are, so.
Do you have a place where y'all are wanting the money to come from, or no?
I don't have any place in my budget, I don't know if we have.
Okay. I'd make the
No,
motion to
sometime-
approve it to use funds that are emergency funds.
I'll second that motion.
Have a motion second, all in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Item number 11, discuss and approve 2500 Chevrolet 2010 pickup. Auction, Ms. Molly.
Yes, I received a check for $1,800 for the sale of the 2010 Chevrolet 2500 pickup, which I believe was Dexter's. But, that wasn't a proof report. It was, actually rescinded not last court, but the court before. So I cannot deposit a check that was not approved from the court. So,
We'll just go back in his budget.
well, the check actually was made out to Fisher County Sheriff, Auditor, Sheriff's Department. And I can't.
So we're going to their account, Bill.
So I'm asking the court to help me on this, to clear this up, on the pickup.
We just go into Dexter's budget if it's his truck.
Yes.
Well, I got a pickup from them. We're just gonna do some trading, they wasn't gonna give much anything for that pickup that we traded for.
So you're wanting to give it to the sheriff's department?
Well, it'd just be fair,
Okay.
it's like $500 is what I
Good
was
with that,
told.
Don?
All that they was gonna offer a trade-in for it, so that's why it come out ahead, and we did too, as far as I'm concerned.
If he's donating that to the sheriff's department, how do we have to do it in order for it to be right on the?
You are gonna have to put it on the agenda and make it official that you're, well, really,
So the funds need to come back to Dexter's precinct, and then it needs to be put on the agenda to be moved to the sheriff's department.
yeah, and I don't know that Dexter kinda discussed to me that he might need some more funds, so that's why I was in your budget. It wouldn't make sense to give your funds to the sheriff's department if you're gonna ask for more funds, is what I'm getting at. I don't know if you're still planning on doing that.
Well, it'd just be right for them to get it for the pickup that we traded with.
Well, my problem is I couldn't do it because the last court, y'all, or not the last court, the court airport before, y'all rescinded the motion of needing a picket for the animal control. Y'all declared it surplus, but then you rescinded the motion. And then I got this check in and I can't do anything with it until we clear it up, so. Can we?
So it's like this, we can, I'll make a motion to move the funds back to your precinct for now. Now, with that being said,
The next court,
next court, you need to put it on the agenda if you wanna donate that money to the sheriff's department.
correct.
So,
So I really need a motion to
out
sell
there
it.
to take this money
Yeah, 'cause
to
that
be
was-
approved to move to precinct two's
But since it was
funds.
rescinded, we need
A motion to
So
sell
we
it.
need to rescind from using it for animal control first? or-
No, you just
You
need to
may
make a
have
motion
done
to
that.
sell
I've
it.
already done that.
You've already done that, what we really should've done, which is kinda my bad, we probably should do an agenda to make a motion to declare it surplus, to sell it again, and then make a motion for him to give it to.
So we have a motion to sell it today.
it's already sold, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Still
Or
have-
just
Or
Sorry,
have
so,
the
but
check.
I'm not
Clean
gonna
it up.
deposit it without it being,
And then
sorry.
we can come back and we can move it where we want, so we just need a motion to sell it, even though we have Jack in here.
So can I rescind my prior motion, and then I'll make the motion that he has approval to sell it, and that the funds from the sale be moved into precinct two.
That's all we need today.
I'll
And
second it.
then we can come back together. Have a motion and second, all in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
For such a lovely truck, they should have a lot of time. All right, item number 12, speed limit on County Road 133, marked 30 miles an hour, that's information only, Gordon's not here. That's what we'll take it up. If anybody wants to map whatever, it was 133, we can put it back on. Item 13, information only, cybersecurity course update for Fisher County, Ms. Dennis.
I know everybody loves having to do the cybersecurity stuff, but it is mandated by the state that we have to do it. Right at the moment, I have, 4 people with the county that have not done their cybersecurity training course. And I have a reporting date of August 31st where I have to report. I would love to have 100% on that again this year. But we just got to get this done, and, if not, then we have the option to get with Goldsmith and cut you off from the county equipment that you're using. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention that, we do have people that have not done this yet, and we really need to get this done. And I'm not naming names. I think everybody knows who hasn't done it. If you have not done it, you know who you are. But anyway.
All right, stay standing. Item 14, information only. J.D. Ditmore Eagle Scout Lions Club Service Project. Ms. Dennis.
Well, I wanted to go through this because there's been a lot of questions about where the benches came from outside and different things like that, and work that had been done outside. So I just wanted to let everybody know that J.D. Ditmore, is an Eagle Scout, and he is working on a service project for leadership skills. And he's working with the Fisher County Lions Club to complete some items, around the courthouse for maintenance and, getting some additions done. And none of this work is being paid for by the county. Every bit of this has been through a fundraiser that he has put on and the Lions Club. And then they are providing all of the labor and everything to have this done. So, a couple of things that's already been done are the 4 benches, the green benches that are sitting outside, that way. Yeah, out there by the gazebo. On the parade path, so when the parade comes, if people need to sit or whatever, they can. And, he's also supervised the lattice work being replaced around the gazebo. Some of the other items that he is wanting to do is painting the lines on the east side of the courthouse for parking spaces. I believe that's gonna be back there where Johnny Lou's office is and back in that area. They're wanting to paint the steps that need to be for visibility, put the yellow paint back on the ones that is all wearing off. And all the trees that are all around the courthouse and have the railing and stuff, they wanna paint those railings. And then, depending on availability of somebody that has any kind of expertise, they wanna clean the war memorials over there in front of the west door, the entrance door. But I just wanna let y'all know what was going on in case anybody asks y'all any questions about what's being done, who's doing it, who's paying for it. It's not county funds, it's all being done by Jamie Ditmore and donations and fundraisers from him and the Lions Club.
Thank you, ma'am. Item number 15, discuss only animal control for both county and city officials. Move forward with animal control policy. Mr. Evans.
Carla, Eli, thank y'all for being here on that. What we have, y'all were able to vote in, city council the month before, I believe. Did, Roby make to where the, animal control policy is gonna mirror what Rotan's done, or on their animal control?
We're gonna mirror, it's just been all verbal, because we haven't actually seen the exact, we did see it, but we haven't voted in exactly that. It's just all been verbal. We've been kind of waiting for the next step, and we thought the next step was gonna come in through the commissioners.
What we talked about is if we had a policy that kind of sets both cities the same, because we kind of talked to the sheriff about, the potential for martializing for city ordinance on certain stuff, but nothing's set in stone on any of this as far as martializing, because the biggest thing ultimately is, I know Rotan has it within their budget for animal control right now with a set amount. I didn't see anything in Roby's budget on animal control. We don't have anything on animal control. So what we were needing to move forward with everything, honestly, is a set amount on what each city could actually put forward towards animal control, because that's gonna dictate a lot of what we're actually capable of doing. Because within that, that's gonna help us decide if we're looking at full-time employment for somebody, part-time employment. We had looked at the facilities in Rotan. The newer facility, not the one right behind the city barn, but the newer facility that's right to the west of there on that property looked like it might be the better facility to actually go in. But even on that, we would have to probably add more kennels to that. It's gotta have a rabies quarantine area on there. So at a minimum, there's gotta be 2 pens per quarantine on there. What we were looking at, did you ever get a chance to kind of get some estimates on that, Eli?
No, I asked, Green Construction to go look at it, and then get back to me on that. But they did go and measure.
Did, Zach ever get back to you, Carla, on the, fence? He was supposed to look at somebody for doing a perimeter fence around that.
No, he doesn't know.
Cause the way I understood it from talking to, previous employees that were doing animal control, a problem y'all had over there was that, even if y'all did take somebody's animal and lock it up down there, they were just going down there and cutting blocks and moving their animals together, basically. And that the, tickets were getting wadded up and thrown back in their face if somebody got wrote up on a citation for animal control. So, if y'all could work on estimates for fencing for the perimeter, if we can get estimates on the, what we discussed about with you and Zach as far as, what Gordon and I talked to y'all about with the facility is what we talked to you about, where we were talking about making adjacent kennels to face the kennels that were there, and then adding the 2 rabies and setting a perimeter fence up around that. But then we'd still have to look at getting a Connex set in, because the way I understood it, all the vaccinations and everything on that, have to be underneath lock and key. So we're gonna have to have some type of office and something else set up to hold for on-site vaccination stuff, unless we can work out something with the big there at the, but you're looking at a lot more income needed if we're using the vet in town versus doing it on site. The whole point of this is to try to keep costs down. Anything we do as far as general makeup would be a one-time deal, but it's gonna be the ongoing expense of running something, and that's where multiple employees is gonna become a big issue. And the just we've been getting from Hamlin, as far as talking with them on animal control, was the first year is gonna really make or break our program. So, I know that if citations are not getting enforced, whatever we do is not gonna stop what's going on with the animals right now. So it's gonna require multiple levels on this. I know, Carla, you said something about, y'all had somebody willing to be the magistrate for Rotan as far as citations.
She's in school as we speak.
Can you give me her information where I might talk to her and see what she might be willing to do, if she might be willing to do it for Roby also?
I'm sure she would.
As far as that. Because the biggest expense on any of this, and this is where, kind of moving forward on this, because really this is more for the cities than it is for the county. This is an olive branch from the county going out to the cities as far as animal control, to try to get us in compliance with state regulation on stuff. I'd like to come back at court next month and start really like hammering in as far as numbers and stuff like that. That's why I'm asking if y'all can figure out within your budget, because I know y'all should have city council meetings coming up where everybody's setting as far as what you're willing to put forward to this. Because without those numbers, we can't really move forward with a plan on it. And as far as when that comes back, then we're gonna have to get with the county attorney and how legal policy and stuff on that. The sheriff has expressed, and the county attorney stuff as far as, martial law, or, not being martialized, not martial law, but martialized for the city.
I think you made me nervous.
Yeah. But being martialized for the cities, and the big thing we can see here, and we're talking with some of the other counties that are dealing with this issue, is misuse of the sheriff's department if they are martialized for the cities. As far as this would be in regards to martializing for animal control and not for every city calls. That's why anything we move forward with, the sheriff's department's gonna have to be compensated through city taxes as far as them being used for stuff like this, if that's the route we end up going, and the sheriff and sheriff's department would agree to. Do y'all have any ideas for any of this moving forward?
What we talked about and what was kind of just discussed, nothing was voted upon, is that we would, provide a $10,000 lump fee to start out, and then for the year, another $20,000 to be used as far as animals that were confiscated and
So you're looking
rabies and all that, so total of $30,000. Of course, that's something that we didn't vote on, something that we just discussed. The reason that we did not go into the ordinance mirroring what Rotan's is, because I was under the understanding, I can't say that the whole city was under the understanding that it had to be a county ordinance, and then that we would be in agreement with the county was going to do, because as a city, we don't have city police, it's all county police. and the county's gonna have to be the one who will do the enforcement of this. So it would be I thought it was gonna be a county ordinance that would affect both, over the whole county.
The difference on a county versus city ordinance is we don't have control over city ordinance. Now, county ordinance would be different from either town ordinance, because you're dealing with a different aspect. In towns would be a different policy versus being in the country.
I understand, I understand, I just.
No, that would be the difference on the two, honestly, is because we wouldn't be able to enforce the same in county, outside the city limits as what you would be within city limits. Even like within the city ordinance for Rotan, I mean, there may be some stuff that needs to be moved around to merit, but as far as what, like a total ordinance, you're gonna have separate versus out of city limits versus in city limits.
If you have somebody in the country, have a restraining dog or whatever, people don't ever know.
That was where we kinda asked before if y'all might be willing to mirror what Rotan did, because the policy here didn't really reflect.
That's no
what-
problem.
Yeah.
I want to move forward with it.
Hamlin's said that they would be willing to help us set the program up, potentially, but they'd have to get it approved through their court to do so. But if we were to use them in a consulting manner, we would actually have to pay them to do that. I know, Carla, who donated the truck again?
Harley and Judy Gordon.
Have donated a fully sealed up animal control vehicle for moving forward with this. So my biggest thing, I would like to see, I'll help as much as I can on this, but as far as pulling together, numbers, as far as that facility and what we were talking about, as far as getting contracting and stuff like that, getting us figures from each, city council on what your drop dead's gonna be. Cause we're gonna have to try to figure in too, to be able to help with that too from the county. As far as the facility, potentially, depending on the price of the facility and all that, maybe having to use emergency funds from the county to move forward, potentially. But depending on where it is and how this will help to get both cities in compliance. Sheriff, if you could look at some stuff that might help as far as different ways, as far as if we need to marshalize y'all, if you're willing to do it, cost effectiveness on that, as far as if you had to respond and stuff, as far as sending people to training for it, because you're gonna have to have people certified if we're marshalizing for animal control.
Right.
And if it's one person, then you got somebody on call 24/7. Versus maybe if we were to look at constables that might be willing to work both cities. Cause that's your only other option for what I'm getting out of these other counties.
The constable position might be our answer for this.
We got rid of the constable position.
Totally, I mean, it's out of budget.
Yeah, no, it's out of,
It's
it's
out.
out, we voted it out several years ago, so we'd have to figure out what we have to do to put them back in.
Okay,
Because by law, we could do that, and we could do that.
okay.
When the last one stepped down, nobody wanted to do it.
That's good.
Because
I didn't know that.
Yes, and constables are elected.
We
So-
were talking possible in the last one, right?
Yeah, and that's the reason we got rid of it, was because, nobody else was willing to do it for, I think we did it for gas and $1 a year or something. Yeah, so we voted to get rid of that position, and it is an elected position.
I know we've had, I've had multiple complaints about the animal control going on. Right now, is there, Sheriff, is there anything that we can do right now that you know of?
Or you kind of,
Before we get set up with,
You know, we've kind of described here the whole kind of vicious circle it's in where you put the dog, you try and take the dog, hold him somewhere. First, we don't have any place that's climate control to hold him. And as soon as we start losing dogs in the heat or in the weather, we're gonna be liable. People go and cut them loose if there's no, if we don't have a place that is secure 24 hours for them. And then the same thing turns around with the tickets. You issue them a ticket, but you issue a ticket that doesn't have any kind of teeth to it, and they literally will crumble it up and throw it back at you.
yes,
So, we're kind of into this swirl until we can come up to, we have to have a platform to start from.
No, and like I said, if we can get the budget numbers, be able to start on budget, we can go from there. Like, let's see, look, that's 14,000 perimeter patrol, that's all I have in there.
Yeah,
How
it was
far is that?
part-time position is all it was.
yeah.
But John did, when John was still alive, I know he did stuff for the county, now whether or not he was compensated, I don't know, but I know that he did respond to animal stuff within the county.
I don't think he was compensated for it, I think he was just doing it.
The biggest thing on any of this is we're all rolling into budget time, like Commissioner Martin just said. This is our big chance to set it up. So what I would ask, like I said, if y'all can get a definitive answer on what y'all have funding wise to move with. If we can get the magistrate, Rotan to potentially do Roby and Rotan. And then we can hammer out some stuff with the sheriff, and then we meet again next month at court and bring more in. We don't have to approve anything just yet, but we need to keep the ball rolling on this to get it moving forward. So we need, estimates for the fencing, around that perimeter of that facility, because really using the facility that Rotan had would make more sense to begin with, because you're only building half versus building the full deal.
I did have a question about the facilities then, and Tom said something about that had to be climate controlled, that'd be a big factor in building a facility, wouldn't it?
That is a factor in it, and the reason it comes up is when I worked in Colorado City, they use a Quonset hut with a big cooler fan in the middle of it. And they lost 2 dogs, including a French bulldog, which was rather expensive for the city.
I understand that, when you go in the building, if it's climate controlled or not, it's gonna be a big factor in the cost.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, our heat here just doesn't allow us to put animals outside.
I've still been reading on this stuff, and there's different things in on it. I know like that, what they had right now was, kennels with a shed that are concreted right now, and then they had there's an old storage building, I believe, that was on the side of that's bad. But there's a lot already designated to animal control there, so you're not having to come up with more property to do anything, you're not having to start a whole new deal.
I think it'd be a great location and all,
But the big thing is just gonna be how we go forth with that as far as what we're building, with the total cost on it. Cause what we had talked about was trying to use local builders and stuff or anything we were gonna do to start with. They were gonna, Lance Green was gonna go look at doing the slabs and stuff over there, potentially for building them. The reason we were looking at, adding more kennels versus what was already there, there's 10 kennels there, I believe, and then, but if you're doing the entire county versus town with what we're seeing, you're gonna need more than 10 kennels. Within the first year, after the first year, you're really not gonna need it, but the first year, as they said, it's gonna make a break in, you're gonna have a lot of animals you're gonna be maintaining during that.
so how many days were required to keep one in there, 30 days, or?
No, it's less than that, it's 3 days.
3 days, we may not need as many if we're not gonna be holding them.
Well, may not. We look at it either way. I'm open to suggestion on any of this, I'm just trying to help get us where we need to be.
Do you have an actual schematic of I've not seen anything, how large the fence enclosure, the height, anything that I can do about it?
Joy actually had that from the state, I believe you gave it to me, it's at the house, and as far as like, the regulations on everything, on the state requirements. Didn't you
I think so. I haven't looked at it in a while, so I don't know.
I think it, I'll have to go back and look.
Is it in that book that I gave you?
I think it is.
Well, you had said that Zach was supposed to be getting estimates. I
Well,
need a
what we had
size
talked
to get an
about
estimate.
on Zach, is the estimate he is supposed to be getting was for the lot itself, for a perimeter fence around the lot.
The entire lot?
Yes,
Okay.
cause what we were looking at is, if somebody wants it bad enough, they're gonna cut their dogs out regardless if you have two fences or one. But if you have a perimeter fence, even if they get out of the kennel and the inner fence, you can still have them in instead of running around town. It's just a deterrent.
So you're talking about a chain link fence?
Yes, sir.
Some people will put a metal, like sheet iron fence where people can't see their dogs in there, or they can't come cut them out if they don't know they're in there, or
That's
whatever.
good.
If you got a privacy fence, you know, it gives you a little more security of it.
That's a good idea. It's just, looking at different fencing options with pricing as far as it.
Okay.
Cause like I said, if anything totals over 50,000, it's gonna be up for bids.
Right.
So, it was finding the cheapest way to do this to get it moving forward. And adding more kennels may not be the answer to where the money gets put as far as just a perimeter fence and a Connex going in, and then the air conditioning. And
Well, the 10
they
doubles
control
what we
the
had
climate.
at the other facility, so.
But as far as like monthly expenses, you're gonna have, what, water, electricity, vaccinations, employment. are
We
gonna
have
be-
electricity, water will be, we'll
We'll
take
take-
care of the water.
So the main thing would be where Botown's gonna sit on what they can put forward. And that lets us know, what we need to be looking at on building.
As you mentioned, budget's coming up and, you know, I said 10 and 20. So you kind of figure from Roby, it'll be right at 30,000.
I think we need to make sure it design exactly how many pins we want in the size, we get more than one estimate too, so we can compare apples to apples. We don't know exactly what we're getting estimates on, as far as getting different people to give other estimates on.
Well, what we originally talked about before we found out it had to be the climate control was this other. Now that it's gotta be climate control, because they keep switching the policies on the animal control, now we've gotta look at doing other stuff.
I will verify that, because the last I talked to Mr. Ferguson.
I didn't think we had to be
Which
climate
was
control on
like 2
what
months
we
ago,
were.
that was not the case.
Yeah, as far as like what the pins had, as long as they had shelter, you know, concrete, it didn't have to be temperature controlled. But if he's saying it's temperature controlled now, then they changed something.
Something to look into.
Yeah. And that's gonna be a constant with this, from what we're saying, because I think within the 3 months, we've been looking at stuff on this, you've sent me, what, 2 or 3 changes they've had, Joy? On
I'm
animal
sorry.
control stuff? Within the state? So that would be, my big thing for y'all is just, Eli, you telling us 30, Carla, if you can, y'all can kinda get us an idea on where y'all might be able to do, and information for magistrate, so we can potentially look at that, and be able to see where y'all wanna go with your ordinance, Eli, on the city of Roby. Because it's,
It won't be any problem
any
for us to
policy
verify.
we do on this, the closer we can keep them together, the easier it is to enforce it.
It would probably be in both of the city's best interest to have an animal control officer paid by us and use the sheriff's office as a backup. They have a lot of territory to cover, not many men to cover it, so.
I think in long run, it ought to be the city's hiring who's doing it.
And I've had an ad for, gosh, how many months now, Jeff? It's been quite a while running an ad for an animal control officer, and there's been several people interested, but they have to go to school and they can't just run around shooting dogs, their interest becomes zero, so.
You got anything there, sir?
The only thing I can figure on that is needing to know a size.
Well, I'll double check on what they're saying on the climate control, cause like I said, I was like Carla on what I've read, but you said you've seen the climate control on it, so I'll double check on that, because that was where our initial stuff was going, was without climate control. So if climate control's in there, then that changes everything on what we're saying about.
I don't mean air conditioning or, actual climate control like our building, but you do have to be able to monitor the temperatures. You can't put them in something that's gonna be 120 degrees in the daytime.
So we can look at that, I can come back with the numbers on that, and if we get the numbers from the city, we can potentially look at what we're wanting to do moving
There
forward.
gotta be somebody statewide that'll have all these questions, answers to all these questions.
Nick Ferguson
Find
is
the
your
right
man.
one.
I've got his number if you wanna call him.
There was a lady at a Holly I talked to originally, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she was willing to come in and help, and she'd set up one around, Jones County, I believe, as far as getting it set up, and I'll see if I can find that information again. Thank y'all for coming. Y'all will be able to come back next month, and we can try to hammer on a little bit more, and I'll try to get a hold of you in between and
Okay.
let you know what I come up with.
All right, item number 16, information only, map, speed limit signs, CR 414, Mr. Evans.
County Road 414, where we've been having, trouble with oil field, driving, way over the, speed limit on it. We moved, we posted signs the 13th of May, this past month on it, and these are the signs posted, Sheriff. See if that's for record. Is it?
All right, item number 17 says budget workshop. I don't know what you guys wanna do, we won't have any numbers till the end of July. If y'all wanna discuss what you want or don't want, we can do that, or we don't have to do anything until we get a number. So really not a lot to do today, get our numbers in July, is that right, Becky?
Yes, in July, I gave the commissioners a budget calendar of all the things that we have to get done by the dates. Give us to go by, and, I've had, not everyone turned in a budget, their budget request or.
So far on the budget request turned in, what's the big items people are looking at increases?
Well, raises mainly. Some just left theirs the same, just said the same, so.
Certified appraisals due July, we'll have it July 25th, so August is gonna be the real deal. But Michael was in there when they came across the street from the CAT office, just FYI, and they said reduce your budgets by 20%.
Circuit breaker.
Circuit breaker is a new government law, we're not gonna get the tax revenue we had, so keep that in mind going forward.
And tentatively, was it 20%, right?
Yeah, said 20 will be safe, I'm assuming it's gonna be a little less than that, but it's not gonna be any increase.
And if it is a 20 with the funding we have right now, it's what, 600 something?
$600,000 shortfall, if the 20% is correct.
That's cut from revenue. Really, there's, like you said, there's nothing we can do today as far as budget workshop without numbers to do it.
I would just ask if anybody hasn't turned in their budget to kind of give it to me.
And
I'm not gonna say anybody's name from here.
is there any way,
Kinda like Joy, I'm not gonna tell anybody, but please turn in your budget numbers. If you have some, if you want it to say the same, just shoot an email saying you want it the same or something in writing. You're not requesting anything, then I'll be fine.
What do you wanna do? That's all I've got.
has anybody got anything on budget that's in here that they wanna talk about?
instituted in this upcoming budget, or?
I think, Tom, you wanna address that? I think
Must be 22, where we've actually been in contact with the state comptroller. I've been talking with him, and I've been talking with the Sheriff's Association, guy who kind of set this whole program up with them, with the state. And we're trying to come up with some numbers right now. As soon as I have those numbers, that's what's holding me up on the budget right now, just waiting for them to get back to me. And they've all been in conferences for the past 2 weeks.
Well, we'll get all this together and we can have a better idea of what to do during the budget.
Maybe my thing is hard to have a workshop without the numbers, so wait till we have the numbers to have a workshop.
Agreed. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Erica, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Carla,